On a hot summer night in the Gateway City, it's St. Louis FC hosting Real Monarchs. And this evening's St. Louis FC match brought to you by the Cheshire St. Louis and LHM. For bookings and more information, visit www.cheshirestl.com. From Toyota Stadium, my name's Evan Weston, joined tonight by Mike Pepper. St. Louis FC with 2 straight wins. They've become the 8th seed in the Western Conference. So right now, if the season were to end today, this would be a playoff match, and Anthony Pulis' side is going to have a real stiff test as Real Monarchs come in for the 2nd consecutive year, top of the West. In their last 46 games, Mike, they've won 30 of them.
That's amazing. I mean, and they just go and show that last year was no fluke. You look at the 67, you look at the Monarchs with Salt Lake City and that whole group, and they just continue to go out. Last year, a playoff position that fell out in penalty kicks, and we all know that. But how do they get to that point? They go out there because they know what to do. I know it's simple, but put the ball in the net. That's going to get you some wins.
You look at some of these numbers, 13 first-half goals in 14 games. They are in the lead for goals in the first half on the road in the entire league. This team just gets it done offensively no matter where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about what them getting it done offensively, but one of those rare things, we talked about the 10 wins. 3 losses right there, Evan. One of those came this week, so maybe St. Louis will be looking to capitalize upon that extension.
Yeah, they lost just 72 hours ago. Meanwhile, St. Louis on their best stretch of the year. They've scored 5 in their last 2 matches. They've been keyed by our Toyota player to watch, Joey Calistri.
Joey Calistri had one of those weeks to remember. You go in, you play your ex-team in Tulsa. He was a Tulsa Roughneck last year, his first year here in St. Louis for Anthony Pulis. And what do? You get an assist on the first goal, and then you score the next 2, including the game winner. Well, I mean, you sit there at a 3-0 victory, but he was outstanding.
Well, he set up the first goal from Kyle Gregg, and then this one to make it 2-0. His 3rd goal in the game was an absolute beauty, good enough to be named USL Goal of the Week. We'll give you a little teaser of it right here.
Yeah, and look at this. I think I was watching this highlight a couple times, and I'm dizzy just from the spin move, and I think so were the Tulsa defenders. But not only that, but he came in there and able to finish it. Just an impressive move.
So St. Louis looking to make it 3 straight wins for the first time all season. They face a team that's won 4 straight in 2 separate segments of their schedule through just 14 games. Should be a fun one with 2 teams headed what we might think for the postseason in the USL. St. Louis, Real Monarchs from Toyota Stadium. It's coming up next.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees.
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino St. Louis.
When you need quality electrical work for your home or business, look to theelectricalconnection.org. Created as a partnership between IBEW Local 1 electricians and the St. Louis chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association, the Electrical Connection has been setting the standard for electrical excellence in St. Louis for over 100 years. You can depend on our highly skilled and trained workforce, your #1 source for quality electrical and communication contractors, electricalconnection.org.
Anthony Pulis in his first year with St. Louis FC. Of course, his father, the famous English Premier League manager Tony Pulis, now in the championship with Middlesbrough. Anthony coming over from his first managerial stint with Orlando City B. He's 5-4-5 in his first season, and Mike, he plays a defensive, compact style of soccer.
Yeah, and it is one that doesn't allow for a ton of offense, but certainly something they've been able to get done. And the key part of winning games is defense. Defense, defense. You started out that way, and that's what Anthony Pulis is about.
Let's get the starting 11 brought to you by Schlafly, the St. Louis Brewery. And as we get the look for Real Monarchs, this group right here is just a fantastic group for Real Monarchs. And then for St. Louis, the 4-4-2 here. This is going to be 2 banks of 4 defending for Anthony Pulis.
Yeah, you see it, and really that center, when you look at Hilton, Reynolds, Fink, Fall has just come back from the injury, as has Gomez, just made his way into the lineup just recently again. But here's a group that they play from the center, and they will use those outsides, including Calistri, who we talked about as the player of the week.
Meanwhile, for Real Monarchs, this group for this Jamison Olave and Real Monarchs, just fantastic. They have 2 MLS center backs in today too, and Nick Beasler and David Horst.
Yeah, and that's again the key part. If you can defend that center of the goal and you keep the other team and their opportunities, you're going to force them to go out. Even those balls sent into the box, you want to be able to get there strong. And Real, when you look at this group, I mean, between Hoffman and that offense that goes out and scores goals, this is a group that will go out and they know how to win.
Hoffman's been incredibly prolific since coming into the USL. He has made 20 appearances in MLS and hasn't scored, but in 89 USL games, 64 goals. I mean, that kind of return just sort of speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think when you look at easily about 75% of your games that you are scoring in, that's or at least as it works out. We've seen a few of those hat tricks as well.
What a great crowd tonight on a day that has seen a high temperature in St. Louis of 98 degrees.
Yeah.
It's been outrageous, and look at the support that they've drawn to Toyota Stadium tonight.
Center of the country, the week before summer, you are going to see that temperature up, and tonight I think we're going to see those hydration breaks too. So we're getting ready for this this one. Exciting one, ready to go.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun between St. Louis. Again, they are the number 8 seed right now in the West. Is the time of year where you start to peek at the standings just a little bit, and with their 2 straight wins of 5 goals to none over their last 180 minutes, they take on a Real Monarchs team whose resume speaks for itself.
Yeah, when you win as many games as you over the last 2 years, that is pretty darn good.
Justin Portillo gets us underway, and it's Real Monarchs looking to avoid a 2nd straight loss, taking on St. Louis FC. Real Monarchs have not lost 2 straight games since September of 2016.
Boy, I was a kid at that point. Well, maybe in cat years I was a kid, but that is a long time. I mean, that's so impressive when you look at the season last year and you go on now already 14 games played this year. That's almost impossible to do when you start looking at the results from these teams.
It has been 48 games since Real Monarchs have lost 2 in a row. Horst fouled here. That was Greg trying to gain a little position for St. Louis.
Well, we're going to see a lot of that high pressure here for St. Louis. They want to go up, and we see that already in the box, putting some high pressure and see if they can force that turnover.
And the 2 center forwards, Greg and Albert Dequo, who came with Anthony Pulis from Orlando City. And there's more pressure there from Dakers, and it's played out for a Real Monarchs throw.
Yeah, and one thing they want to watch when you are doing that high pressure, keep those hands down. We saw that there was, and I think will it be the throw? I think it is, because it might have gone over the line. But you get those arms out. You can't give them an easy out, and it was whistled for a foul because you have them under pressure. You have them facing the wrong way, and when you lift the hand up onto the shoulder, the referee is looking for a reason.
Sparrow puts it away. Flick on, and there's the first intended pass for Hoffman. It's played out for a Real Monarchs throw, and they can really get numbers into the midfield and try to overload you with this system that Jamison Olave is taking over. And they did play just 72 hours ago, a loss at Swope Park Rangers. Sparrow in goal for the 2nd straight game, but some reinforcements in the back. Beasler and Horst both down from the first team with MLS in the FIFA World Cup break.
And sometimes that actually can go a bit of an advantage just this short time ago, because they are younger players. They're on the road, they're traveling together. You got to get a little bit of an opportunity just from going across the state at Sporting KC to St. Louis now. Get a chance to eat together, to practice together on the road. You're just seeing all the different things, and it might be a slight advantage at least going to this second one, and St. Louis will want to try and put them under that pressure early.
Here's Stanley, the 17-year-old left back for St. Louis.
Speaking of young.
He's committed to play at Duke this fall on a semi-pro contract with St. Louis FC. Looking for Dequo, and he fouls, or rather is fouled, by Kalen Ryden. It'll be an inviting free kick for St. Louis.
Already, you see the size in the back there, but Ryden over the top of Dequo. And you don't want to give up fouls in this point. We was watching the World Cup, and just with the results yesterday, when you watch Iran get the free kick early on, you see Uruguay get the goal as well. Obviously, this is a little further out, but you start giving up these kicks, these free kicks in this area, you're putting a lot of pressure upon your defense in the box.
Hilton and Stanley around the ball for St. Louis. And again, they're looking to go right to goal here. It's Stanley with the left foot. Far post, Sparrow plays it out of the air.
See the sun maybe come into play a little bit, but Sparrow strong off his line. That one hung up too high.
Just a little bit too much air under it. Not a particularly difficult play for the Monarchs keeper. Juan Ignacio Mare leading the charge and then ending the charge, playing the ball out in front of Brody. Throw in for St. Louis. Both teams are sort of feeling their way into the game at this point.
Yeah, you get those first 5 to 10 minutes, and particularly as you mentioned with St. Louis, they haven't had that opportunity, but you see they might be trying to hold up just a little bit and force the Monarchs to really play it out of the back here.
There's Greg in open space. Calistri was making a run, but it goes backwards. And Fanuel Kavita, the right back, playing Calistri forward. Former Tulsa Roughneck. Ryden does well to save the corner. And it is just a throw for St. Louis. Kalen Ryden, 6'2", but he is a pure left back. He's not a center back that's playing over there. That's his spot. There's Kavita.
6'2", big for an outside back, that's for sure.
Hilton driving for Greg. Can't control the header. Dequa. Beasler clears for Real Monarchs.
Boy, he had a little bit more space there, but you're backing away. It's hard to gauge.
Stanley back in, headed on. Sparrow with a leaping stop. Dequa thinks he was fouled in the box. No sympathy from referee Daniel Gutierrez.
That one may have been played back, but obviously off the head by the Real Monarchs defender.
St. Louis, though, controlling the game right now. And it was funny because you've got a team that normally invites pressure, playing a team that is always on the front foot, but that team, the latter, is on the road.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a role reversal for these two teams right now.
And I know it kind of counters what I said, but the fact is it was 72 hours. And while you can use that as a team bonding experience there will be a little bit of fatigue perhaps by some of these players, just particularly with the heat and with that high pressure.
Flying start for St. Louis. They're going to hold on to the ball a little bit longer here. Neither of these teams possess the ball as much as you might think, especially Real Monarchs. They are perfectly willing to just wreck you on the counter at different moments. Long ball for Greg, too long, and out for a throw for the visitors.
More effective, why not? That's what they do. And I know it's hard to not look at, but you see the team at the top of the standings, and when you see that for a couple years in a row, it just shows that just organizationally, they've done some great things.
Well, this whole academy from the bottom up is oozing with quality. Stanley in a decent spot here after the giveaway by Real Monarchs. There's Wal Fall, the German-American and cousin of former U.S. men's national team star Jermaine Jones. Hilton, his midfield partner.
Well, Anthony Pulich really welcoming back Wal Fall. He was missed through an injury early on in the last few weeks.
Dequa turns in Calistri into the box. Calistri, right foot, off the line. Greg can't head home. Wow. Corner, St. Louis. We saw the goal by Paul Pogba to win for France this morning. That was pretty close to the same thing. Joey Calistri nearly made it 3 straight for himself.
I think Sparrow got a hand on it, and then eventually here we see the ball headed out. Almost the second challenge, Greg was able to get in, but not there before the Real Monarchs defender.
Here's the Electro Savings corner kick for St. Louis. For every goal scored by St. Louis FC off a corner kick, Electro Savings will be donating $100 to the SLSG Foundation. Short corner. Turned back in by Hilton, headed on over the bar. Wal Fall got his noggin to it, but just a little bit over the crossbar.
Boy, some great chances here for St. Louis here early on. We saw that last ball coming in and Calistri on the back post. Sparrow able to get just enough of a hand on it, but then the rebound, but here, just on that corner kick. Eventually sending it in and getting a header on it, just not on target.
8th minute, it's been all St. Louis. Real Monarchs have been nowhere near this game so far. There's Sean Reynolds handling Hoffman. And St. Louis turns the run of play back the other way once more. And Horst, under pressure from Greg, heads one out.
I think they're going to call a foul on Greg again.
Looked like a little bit of a push by the Wisconsin native. It'll be a free kick for Real Salt Lake.
That's just the thing, and it's already we've seen too, and obviously the physical play by Greg, and maybe that will pay off a little while, but when the defender's running away from the net, you don't want to push them. You don't want to give them any really kind of contact because it will make a difference. It will let them out.
Let's see real quick the attempt by Calistri here, and watch Sparrow. Does he get a hand on this? Yeah, he does. He played it right up onto the bar.
Yeah, and
that's a phenomenal save.
Great job by Brody of covering back.
And here's a spot for Real Monarchs to attack. Hurd through the middle, and Kavita able to pop it into the air. Portillo controlled by Reynolds for St. Louis. But kept alive by Portillo, and here is Josh Hurd, 23 years old, out of British Columbia. Couldn't keep it over the sideline throw for St. Louis.
Yeah, and again, that pressure running away from it and able to get that turnover in the throw-in. Just really a little sweat. I'm sorry, Evan, just as I was saying, we saw the close-up there of Kavita, but boy, just a little sweat on this hot evening.
Yeah, not really hot at all out there, right? Just 98 degrees.
Yeah, 10 minutes into it.
Here's Dequa. Again, St. Louis FC off on the attack. Dequa plays into the box, turned on by Gregg, and off of Beasler for a corner kick. St. Louis asking all the questions through the first 10 minutes.
Hitting the ball into the box, that's the key, and already a couple of touches. That one may have been going on target by Gregg. A tough angle because the goal was behind him, but he was able to at least direct it on and get this corner. He does go off the defender. Let's see the second corner.
So another Electra Savings corner kick for St. Louis. Ball bending, far post, headed to the center, off a Real Monarchs man. I believe that was Portillo, and it calmed it enough for Sparrow to collect. Really nice ball to the back post.
Yeah, the only one making that run was the Sam Fink for St. Louis.
And he was just a little bit behind putting that one in the back of the net. And St. Louis win the ball again. Well, they're just completely dominating this game. This isn't what we're used to seeing from an Anthony Pulis team, but they are controlling the tempo of this game. They're doing exactly what they want.
And I think, again, you know the team's been on the road in Real Monarchs for the last 4 days. They're coming off a result that was in the hot evening in Kansas City just at that point. So put them under pressure early and see what can happen.
Dequa offside. And let's have another look at that corner kick and the near goal by Sam Fink.
Yeah, and just on the long ball, you see the signal back in, and Fink runs it down and does what he's supposed to do. Maybe just a little slow for Kavita there coming back in, but you just wonder whether or not he's going to get a head on it. Will it go back across the back post? And unfortunately, no one made that near post run.
I wonder if he had an option to try and turn that towards goal, although it did look like Sparrow had him lined up pretty well.
Yeah, it was a tough angle, and that would have been a tough. You'd almost have to go back over him at that point because you're just not able to get a lot of power on it.
Brody carrying forward for Real Monarchs, and another quick giveaway for the team out of Salt Lake City. Trying to win it back, it's Brody. Has Michael Chang. A little bit out in front for Hoffman. Reynolds carrying for St. Louis. And Tomas Gomez, the 2016 Golden Glove winner. That one he'll probably want to have back as it goes over the stands and out onto that side field.
Yeah, well, but you know what? Sometimes you know that when it's played back to you, your defender's out there. Just get it out and then let your team recover. As a goalkeeper, the last thing you want to do is play it back up in the middle while you're standing outside your box or outside of your immediate goal area.
Hoffman wins another throw. Gomez had a phenomenal year in 2016 with the Rochester Rhinos. Was still very good last season.
Yeah, finals.
Jake Fennelson was the first choice keeper for Pulis this year while Gomez was coming back from an injury. He's returned to the lineup, and he may face his first test of the match here as Real Monarchs have their opening corner kick.
Yeah, back-to-back shutouts off this one. He did have the start in one of the games where a few goals were scored against him, but he's, again, working his way back, and he's going to be a big presence here for St. Louis, particularly on this corner kick.
In swinging delivery, foul in the box on Real Monarchs.
Oh, it's on St. Louis.
On St. Louis, excuse me. And that's going to be a penalty kick for Real Monarchs.
They ended up getting Kyle Gregg, who was challenging on that near post. Don't know if it went off the arm or if he got a shove, but we'll get another look at it. Looks like he shoved him. Looks like he came in on that and just ran him over. And
one of the best penalty takers in USL, Chandler Hoffman, who scored a brace in the game on Wednesday night, as Anthony Poulos takes a little bit of an issue with the call.
Look, he goes, there's contact on all these things. Why is this the one called? But we could see that it was kind of a run through the player.
Well, Gregg, too, had been called for a couple of fouls earlier. He had gotten into it with Gutierrez, the referee. And you don't want to get on the official's bad side early in the match.
No.
So Gomez certainly will be tested here.
Yeah.
As Hoffman will look to deliver yet another. He's had 5 penalty kicks go in the last 2 years. Make it 6. And completely against the run of play, Real Monarchs grab the lead.
Well, and that's why, again, they lead the league. I mean, they sit there, they don't have the possession set, they don't have that, but they get a corner kick, something where the ball was played in, and they take advantage of it. And sure enough, we know that Hoffman knows what to do with it.
His 65th goal in USL in 90 appearances since coming out of UCLA in 2012. Been one of the premier strikers in this league over the last several years, and he adds another feather to his cap.
Well, and a quarter hour into it, you know, if you're St. Louis, you have one opportunity that you've given up, and the Real Monarchs capitalize on the penalty kick. You can't get frustrated, but it's going to be tough because you have a team that has struggled at times to score goals at home. Only 6 goals in the 6 games, and you just want to make sure that, hey, look, we're controlling this game. Let's play our game, continue, and maybe they'll try and get it with another free kick or another throw-in opportunity here deep in the area.
Now they take the opening kickoff forward. Throw in for Dikwa. Calistri. Turns into the box and dealt with by Ryden. St. Louis's only home loss this year came to Phoenix. It was probably the other truly great team in the West. Anthony Poulos is really having a word now with Daniel Gutierrez.
And you can tell Daniel Gutierrez right now isn't liking it. We heard the excessive whistle at Anthony Poulos letting him know, look, you're calling a penalty on us down there. We just sent the ball into it. My guy's getting held. Why don't you watch? Why don't you watch? And sure enough, Poulos is going to have to watch a little bit. But you know what? This might be one of those things to let his team know he's got their back.
He's known as a player's manager, as is his father, who famously, until last year, had never managed a side that was relegated. And he was barely involved in the West Brom team that ended up getting knocked out of the Premier League last year. Throw-in never really settled for Gregg, and Horst, the MLS veteran, heads away. Here's Stanley, the teenager, keeping things going. Ball sent in for Calistri. Still knocked down as Joey Calistri finally touches it with his hand.
Yeah, I think it deflected off of Calistri's leg and into the arm. One of those inadvertent things, but it certainly stopped the flow of the ball.
And now the full house here at Toyota Stadium is letting Daniel Gutierrez know that he should probably get out of town pretty quickly after this match is over.
The St. Louligans letting him know.
Here comes Josh Hurd for Monarchs, but Gomez able to hand it across pretty comfortably. And that's got to just decimate you when you've been asking every question, when you've been executing your plan to a T for the opening 6th of the match, and then you look up and you're down 1-0.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those frustrating things, but you just have to look at it that we are controlling this game. Something will break. We just have to keep at it.
Yeah, you have to think the way that they're playing. There's at least a goal in this one for St. Louis FC, although, as you said, quite right, offense has been hard to come by, at least until very recently, for St. Louis. Monarchs, by the way, do now lead the league with 6 road first-half goals. They had been 4-1 on the road in their first 5, which is just remarkable in an American league with all the travel, especially where there's no charter flights, you're flying commercial, with some of the games where you're only playing on 2 days rest. It's just, I mean, that's an unfathomable statistic. And even if they've lost their last two, they were close games.
Yeah, and what's even more unfathomable, Evan, is how the teams fly commercial, but then you get the charter. You have a charter to all these.
It's
I
true.
love it.
I do indeed.
That's how you know. You know, that's the key. Here's that high pressure a little bit. You see those going, and they're going to force Sparrow to at least play out. Dangerous ball here now. They're trying to control it out. It is the open man, but as that pressure comes up.
They're trying to force you into making a mistake in a high leverage position. Fortunately for Real Salt Lake, they have one MLS veteran back there in Horst. That's a poor ball there by Charlie Adams. And then the other one, Nick Beasler, the younger brother of the U.S. men's national team's Matt Beasler, who Nick just broke into the first team side this year. You were saying earlier, the whole setup for Real Salt Lake is so impressive. They just opened a USL-specific stadium in Zions Bank, $78 million facility, 5,000-seat stadium. It is absolutely beautiful. They haven't lost there.
Right.
And it just, you know, the way that they work everything from the academy in Arizona all the way up to the first team is set them up for long-term success.
Absolutely, and that's the key, which you have to look at, and whether it be the Real teams around the country that at least are benefiting from the Real Monarchs name.
Given away by Dequa for St. Louis. Here's Adams. Brody. Adams under pressure. Here they come, the green shirts coming right after the ball, and they force a giveaway. Here's Aiden Stanley.
Yeah, so many times it's that turnover in midfield that you can go pay. It might not be every time that you get an opportunity, but all it takes is one. Changes the game.
Dakers couldn't get free on the ball from Stanley. Cute little back heel there by Josh Hurd, but he couldn't make his way past the 6'2", 190-pound Sam Fink, a Wake Forest graduate who signed with St. Louis straight out of college. Making his 68th appearance.
Seen him make the team of the week, and one of the more acrobatic saves we saw just at the end of April to help earn a point for St. Louis earlier this year.
Sparrow plays out for a deep throw. And DeVita takes it from way back. St. Louis content to hold on to the ball for a little bit. They really haven't been unsettled by the penalty. They just kind of got right back to what they were doing.
Yeah, they have, and that's what you hope. And you'd like to at least get in there and test Sparrow. Obviously, the best chance prior to the penalty goal was Calistri running in, and a great save by Sparrow to push it off the bar. But it's just one of those things, again, that just continue to go at it. And you can see Real Monarchs just content to sit back a little bit, not to have that pressure being on the road with that one-goal lead.
St. Louis holding 62% possession right now. Just completely dominated this game. They're calling a foul on Dequa.
You see the feet got clipped up a little bit along with Ryden.
But after that penalty, every decision that goes against St. Louis, this crowd is only going to get more incensed. Dequa nearly caused a turnover there. Too far out in front of his partner, Kyle Gregg. Long ball look at the hold-up play by Hoffman. Oh, he nearly got free.
I mean, and you have to say, obviously, corner kicks, there's contact on every play. And I know that obviously with leagues, they like to try and continue or at least eliminate that.
Zhang had Hoffman making a run, but Fink handles it.
And to further elaborate on that point, is you see the pushing, and obviously as Gregg is a big body, a little extra into that. But you're going to see some sort of pull or some sort of push on just about every corner. And I think already with the two corner kicks for St. Louis, that's what Anthony Poulos is complaining about. It's like we saw it.
It's fairly rare to see that called, really.
Yeah, I agree, unless it's blatant. And we did see that a referee was standing about at the top of the area pointing directly at it.
Hoffman was offside before he put that one in, so we'll have a throw in, or rather a free kick for St. Louis FC. The penalty kick by Hoffman in the 15th minute. And it's bizarre. I'm racking my brain. It's hard to remember too many corner kicks that get called for penalties.
Yeah, when the ball is near you, but I don't think either player involved actually touched the ball.
Well, it was just sort of a general tackling motion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was clearly a foul, but it's a question of consistency. You know, what do you call?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's, again, where the question lies in what the decisions are made.
Chang for Hoffman, header well wide. And a goal kick on the way for Gomez.
It's always good. You can see the goalkeeper and Gomez just coming out a little bit. He knows the ball's going out for a corner kick. Talks to his defense, what he liked about the marking, what he didn't like about the marking. Let's make sure we clean that up for the next time in. It does give your team just a chance to recover for that half second. You know, they've been tracking back, and hey, we're going to go forward with this, so let's go in there. And it does look like you're instructing, even though it is a kind of a time-killing moment.
Ball played off of Ryden. Calistri tripped up, and a foul called on Horst. And an inviting free kick for St. Louis as Calistri remains down, and now Beasler and Hilton getting into it.
And Beasler was carrying the ball back, and Hilton saying, we want to play this, let's go.
Gutierrez having words with Beasler. Let's take a look at this tackle again. Definitely clips him up on the shin there.
And I think Horst, I mean, you see Calistri going in. Horst is saying he's trying to protect himself. He's going over, but you can't lift that leg. If you go in for that early tackle, you know what? Stay down on the ground like that. You know, then let the other guy get called for the foul. Because if Calistri goes in on him and gets the cleats on him, he's probably going to get a card. Horst was there first, but the second he lifts his leg, it looked like Calistri trying to avoid it. That should be a foul on Horst, and maybe even,
and now he's going to get a yellow card for his troubles.
He just read my mind. Probably should have been a card just because of that lifting the leg.
David Horst, the first man booked in the game. He's seen the wrong end of the officials numerous times in his MLS career. Was a starter for about 6 years in the league. Portland, Houston, and now back with Salt Lake where he started and was unable to find time with the MLS side. Free kick from Hilton off the wall. And it'll be a goal kick for, or rather corner kick for St. Louis. The third Electro Savings corner of the match.
Yeah, and it's, you know, the tall wall. We've seen that. Didn't work on the tall wall for Spain as they put the big bodies for Cristiano Ronaldo out there.
You could have had every center in the NBA on that wall and they wouldn't have stopped that.
Perfectly placed, perfect distance too. 25's a dream.
Hilton with a line drive, top of the box, headed on, but Sparrow there. Not a bad idea, as Reynolds, the center back, came closing in, but Sparrow was wise to it.
Yeah, strong header there, that opportunity. And it's just, I think it was a Dequa maybe, or you say
Reynolds.
There you go, but strong header, it just didn't find a side, and you know, Sparrow says thank you very much.
Mare heading forward for Hoffman. We're nearing our first hydration break of the game. It'll be around the half-hour mark. And again, with temperatures well north of 90 degrees. If you look out into the stands, you can see some of the fans fanning themselves with hats or game programs or what have you.
I should probably hire them to come fan me.
You need a couple of those palms, right?
I need a couple of things, that's for sure.
Nice Schlafly summer ale.
Oh, delicious.
Contact but no call between Hurd and Calistri. Fall delivering one forward. Calistri with some space here on the right. Calistri has runners, chips in Gregg, but it's headed back by Horst and cleared out of danger by Real Monarchs.
And what you want from your wide man every time, 1v1, go at him, and Calistri able to get the ball in the box and on the end of it.
It was an unmarked run to the back post. He just didn't get enough air under the ball. Fink, the captain, getting play started out of the back for St. Louis. And not a great giveaway there by Reynolds, and Real Monarchs out on the counter. Here's Michael Chang, the Cuban, brought over from Charleston Banner in the offseason. He has Hoffman holding up for support. Played out wide from Mare. Shout his handball for St. Louis, but they won't get it.
I don't think they shouted loud enough. You had one hand raised, and maybe a few of them did. You get it.
Here's Brody from right back. Crosses one in. Nobody there. Fall, though. Chests it down. Gomez looked a little bit surprised to have to go off to his right and go get that.
Yeah, Josh Hurd was not far away at that point in time, but Fall saw that he was facing the other way, and better than odd chance, and good communication between the two.
St. Louis. And a team who is not averse to countering and playing quite a lot of long balls. They're trying to get through with a lot of connection and playing possession here. Here's some good possession as they string a few passes together. Calistri for Kavita, and now Dikwa. And off of Ryden for throw.
Pretty good job of Real Monarchs of staying with the runner.
Fanuel Kavita out of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. 25 years old. Another guy who's big for a fullback. 6'1", almost 200 pounds. He's actually a former Real Salt Lake man. He came through the RSL Academy in Arizona. Appeared 38 times for the Monarchs in 2015 and 2016. Spent last year with Puerto Rico FC in the NASL. Here he is chasing this one down. It goes over the end line, or the sideline rather. Throw in for Real Monarchs.
It's like he thought that was going out. He held his run and then goes, maybe I can get to it. I think he continued running. Would have been in behind the defender, but sometimes that spin on the ball, not quite there.
So the next home match for St. Louis FC against Rio Grande Valley FC Toros. We were talking about them before we came on the air. What an odd season they've had. 1 win in 13 games, and they're only -4 in their goal differential.
And it's great. Lots of draws, but that means even the losses they're right in every game.
7 draws out of 13, just 5 losses. They take on Oklahoma City tonight.
Who's had their struggles. They do have 3 wins, but a lot of losses. Leads the league in losses.
Greg fouled. Portillo came in and gave him a shove. Portillo brought in along with Michael Chang from Charleston to reinforce Real Monarchs. And RSL does not just use Real Monarchs as a developmental side. They are built to win. And they bring in players like Chang and Portillo so that they can win games and win trophies.
Yeah, you're right.
Ball slides one in. Dikwa with space. Pushed out of the center. On for Dakers. Missed it high. Whoa, what a chance that was. Kadeem Dakers won't see many better than that. And he put it over the bar.
That's hard to say. I mean, when you look at 8 yards out, wide open right in the front, 7 yards out, and you don't put it on frame.
Well, I think he tried to go one time when he had plenty of time to touch it and smack it home.
He does, and you're so right in that. But you know that at that point that someone's probably going to be on you. You just have to put it on frame. Force Sparrow to make the save. Force the defender running back to kick it off the line.
It almost looked like he hesitated between the 2 options.
Yeah.
As Gomez comes out to dive on top of this one with Chang putting on the pressure.
That's one of those hindsight ones you go, oh my God, you take your time, do it. But look, at practice, you know it's one touch at that point. He knows. You got to put it on frame. If you put it on frame and they make the save, hey, good job.
Definition of a sitter right there.
Oh, absolutely.
Fall. Oh, look at all the space here for Calistri. Slides it forward right to Sparrow. And another simple save for the Real Monarchs keeper, and he is not happy with his defense.
Yeah, look, there's all kinds of space. I mean, not just on that opportunity, but Calistri had 10 yards to turn, went in, and obviously he would like to do more with the shot, but this is not the first time. There's been a lot of chances we've seen just open St. Louis players, and unfortunately they haven't been able to capitalize on it. Here's we hit the 32nd minute, and I think that will be a hydration break.
Yeah, we're going to take the water break here. 7 shots so far for St. Louis. They have dominated this game thoroughly. And then you look at the scoreboard, and it is 1-0 to Real Monarchs off the penalty kick by Chandler Hoffman.
Oh, look at that. All right, the fans are going, and fans are fanning. That's for sure. Oh, fans are sweating too. That looks like me.
I wish I had facial hair quite that great. We take a look at St. Louis's next opponent. They're on the road at Sacramento, the Republic, the team that knocked out Real Monarchs from the postseason last year in an 8v1 game on penalty kicks.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of things. It's a tough little stretch, and obviously St. Louis is playing well and probably deserve to be in a better position tonight, but Sacramento is going to be a very tough match on the road too. They are phenomenal at home.
It'll be the first time those 2 teams see each other this year, and in fact the only time that they do. Sacramento, one of the best drawing sides in the USL. They average about 11,000 fans in Sacramento. It's just a great organization that they have up there.
And we talk about the St. Louis because they've made the return west. We've seen the USL expand again, and you see the input of Atlanta, of Nashville, of Indy, as those teams come in. St. Louis sitting on the banks, the gateway to the west. That's right there at the Mississippi River.
And they keep moving conferences, right?
Yes,
they were in the West 2 years ago.
Yep.
They were in the East last year. They're in the West this year. And the talk is that next year they'll be in a Central Conference. So it's not exactly a lot of familiarity with opponents for St. Louis.
That young lady had the best eye roll we'll ever see right there, fanning herself. She knows it's hot. She's going, why haven't we scored? We have been controlling this game.
Dad, why don't I get a water break?
Yeah,
the players do.
Exactly. Let's go out there. Let's see what we can do.
It is very, very warm in St. Louis, north of 90 degrees, and the sun finally starting to come down.
You say north of 90, but it's just south of triple digits.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's high 90s. It's and in that central part with that Mississippi River, that humidity can be pretty oppressive combined with that temperature. He's not even sweating.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like Anthony Poulos, although if he lifted his arms up, I'd probably tell a different story, but he has not shown a little bit of sweat. The only time we really saw Anthony Poulos make his name in this match was when Daniel Gutierrez whistled the penalty kick off the corner for Real Monarchs.
Yeah, he's had his shots of being fired up, and we saw him expressing his displeasure, I guess, with Gutierrez and perhaps the consistency of calls in the box. But that's the difference in this one tonight. One foul called in the penalty area on St. Louis, and Chandler Hoffman bearing it.
The home side will try to get back to what's really worked quite well for them so far. They've dominated every aspect of this game. It's just that end product hasn't been there just yet. Dakers had maybe the best chance. He gets a heavy touch. Horst ahead for Portillo. And then here's Juan Ignacio Mare to try and get the counter going for Real Monarchs. Fink closing down, and Fink does well to get in front of him and turn the ball back the other way.
Well, defensively, St. Louis has been solid this year, and today, really, they haven't given up a chance aside from that the penalty.
So let's see if St. Louis can exploit the space here. Stanley, the teenage left back, and they're going to calm things down.
Yeah, and you know, the hydration break, you talk about that, but the 5 minutes leading into that hydration break, St. Louis was able to find a lot of gaps in that midfield. It seems like maybe Real Monarchs have adjusted that defense as we have an injured St. Louis.
Dikwa goes down, holding his left leg. Let's see if Real Monarchs continue here. You see Beasler pointing to Dikwa, who is still down, and they're going to play the ball out and do the right thing as Albert Dikwa gets checked on.
Yeah, right in front of the bench, so he's kind of looking at that calf, perhaps, or the shin. I don't know if it was tangled up, but certainly pointing to it.
Dikwa, a graduate from the prestigious Montverde Academy in Melbourne, Florida. He's also played for the Cameroonian U20 national team. And he just goes down kind of awkwardly holding that right leg.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you look at a shin to an injury to that point, you would kind of wonder, was there some sort of contact? But it is good news as he's up and running around.
Well, just a scare, nothing more for Albert Dikwa, one of a few players to come along with Anthony Poulos from Orlando City B. Talked to us this week. He said he was really happy to have some continuity, get the message through. Got another injury in this one, perhaps to the head, and they're going to stop play immediately for that. Aiden Stanley, and fortunately, that young man able to get to his feet quickly.
Yeah, and that is obviously a precaution around not just soccer, but all sports. And you see any type of those head collisions, and the elbow's up, and the ball goes off Stanley's head, a little bit of a combination. But the elbow was high, and proper call made there.
Chang was the man who fouled him. Stanley, the first academy signing for the fledgling St. Louis FC Academy. And a huge congratulations for him on graduating high school. As he's set to go play at Duke University in the fall. Cute little back heel by Dikwa, plays in Calistri. Hilton making the run. Hilton! And he didn't get enough on it. Sparrow able to calm it down. And boy, St. Louis with another decent-looking attempt, and that final product is not there for them.
And that's another case. I mean, you saw Hilton with more time than he had, but running away, he figured it was a runner playing. You just have to wonder with Real right now, are they just not tracking back like this? But St. Louis not taking advantage of all opportunities.
Little shoving in the box, play on, as Hurd delivers it back to Ryden, who gave it away. Hilton slides it forward to Dequa. We got another man down behind the ball.
We'll see a caution as Hilton is taken down. I believe he got up there, but we did see it, or at least probably will. Hilton is up now, though.
The play advantage here. Dequa forced backwards. Good job to regain their shape on Real Monarchs.
Yeah, and you try and go into it, particularly when you're chasing back and on a foul that wasn't on, but they did cover back well that time.
Stanley for Dakers. Turns it in for Gregg, headed up by Horst Dequa. Again, not enough power, and Sparrow able to get it off the line.
Oh, boy. Making Sparrow a lot of, he didn't have the one fantastic save on Calistri, but a lot of relatively good ones, making him into a candidate for team of the week right now with all the saves he's made. Here's
Mare with a shot from distance, handled comfortably by Gomez. I believe that's the first shot on target that was not the penalty kick for Real Monarchs.
Right, awesome.
St. Louis back home in 2 weeks after that trip to Sacramento. They're content to play out of the back with 5 minutes to go until added time. Be sure to visit one of the 7 local St. Louis area Toyota dealers. Sponsors of St. Louis FC. Here's Dequa coming up the pitch for St. Louis. Dequa back into the box again, looked to center up. It was played off by Beasler. Ryden going after Dequa. All up top. Kavita, collision with Dakers and Brody. It's cleared out of danger again. Fink coming up from center back to win possession for St. Louis. They're doing everything right except putting the ball in the back of the net.
That finishing in the penalty area just really a little bit desired, and maybe just slightly behind, just not enough power and not recognizing exactly the situation, but creating those opportunities, you'd like to think one goes the right way.
Fall, oh, he was winding up there from Golasso range. Instead has Dakers. Fall, German-American, threading for Dequa. Falls back to him, he gets tripped up, no call, and Real Monarchs headed the other direction. Hoffman out wide for Chang. And the Cuban, Michael Chang, carrying forward. They'll wait for a little bit of support. That's one thing St. Louis doesn't do, is get caught on the counter. When they lose the ball, they're going right back to their shape with those 2 forwards there for the pressure.
And they covered back for Fall, who's just making his way back into the half. And so we see the 42nd minute now. The pressure has drifted off just a little bit by St. Louis.
Poor distribution there for throw for St. Louis FC. And we've got a yellow card coming out for Hurd of Real Monarchs.
He pointed back to something that is going on, but perhaps is it, we've seen a couple stoppages of play, or maybe we haven't. Maybe that's the first stoppage of play we've had since the Hilton was taken down.
So I think that's probably what the card is for. That's a good call, Mike. That play happened well behind the ball, and Gutierrez played advantage, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But that is that is the first time we've had the game stopped.
I think
since that happened.
Yeah, I think Sparrows had it handled in his air, but certainly the ball has not gone out or had a free kick for any reason.
Here's Gregg for St. Louis off a nice ball from Stanley, but he was offside. And here's a free kick for Real Monarchs.
Getting in there and still creating those opportunities. Gregg just couldn't hold the run up just in time.
Mike, you look at the scoreboard, and it's just baffling. Based on the game that we've watched, it feels like the scoreboard is telling us about a different game than the one that's been presented.
I think, yeah, you're right. You know, and the Sparrow save was outstanding on Calistri on the near post, but for all the danger that St. Louis has been done, just they haven't been good enough in putting the ball on the target, aside from that one opportunity.
Chang keeps us alive. Adams in front for Ryden, the left back. Had Mare calling for it in the box. Instead, it's Hurd. And Real Monarchs will take the opportunity for a little bit of possession. It's not something they've been afforded very much so far tonight.
As you mentioned, that pressure's dropped off a little bit. They still will go high, but bringing it up into the middle third or the center third of the field as opposed to that defensive third.
This possession should get them over 40 in the game for the first time in a while. Beasler the younger to his partner David Horst, and you see there's that pressure again from those forwards, and it's enough. Reynolds gets his head on it, and it's into Stanley for St. Louis to begin the press. Here's Aiden Stanley. Beautiful little flick there, and in comes Dakers. St. Louis on the move. Dakers calling for a man. Dakers shoots and misses well high.
Yeah, I think they called a deflection.
Yeah, that
so
was
it's
deflected, so it will be a corner kick.
So in that sense, you don't know where exactly that ball was going, but when Dakers had it, just have to look. And when you see the defender going on, you don't, or the attacking player come in, as we get another look at the play, you can see Dakers, and just before they turned it around, that probably was a good ball coming back into that as we see the deflection, and they get away with it. But he's got to know that Calistri's going. You have to know who's there, and that's where you can make that difference.
Hilton on for the corner. Electro Savings corner kick for St. Louis. Over to the back post. Sparrow just swats at it and bashes it to the near side, and it's out for St. Louis throw-in.
Strong punch. I mean, that's really good by Sparrow, and it looked like he was just kind of caught up, was wanting to catch it at first, and then realized, this one's curling around. I got a guy coming. I want to punch it, and he did exactly what you do. Height and distance, it's out.
Fall. Couldn't touch it into himself. 3 minutes of added time here at the end of the first half. St. Louis keeping on the pressure, and it's out for another Electro Savings corner kick for St. Louis.
Yeah, very dominant. I think, what is this, their fifth of the game already?
It is indeed.
And we see that, and we see the Real Monarchs have already got the one that's going on. I think Anthony Poulos is going 3 minutes. We had the injury. We've already seen. So it should be more. We had a hydration break.
We had a hydration break. That should be 2 right away.
You would think.
I was thinking at least 4, if not 5. Yeah. 3 definitely seems a little bit shy.
Speculating is arguing that.
Stanley with a left foot, headed on Sparrow again.
Wow. What a save.
Connor Sparrow with one hand diving to his right to make the stop.
Wow, that's 2 great saves, and this one is going to be on every highlight reel.
Sam Fink with the header, and Sparrow with a phenomenal diving stop. Another corner. Horst heads this out for a 7th. Or was that not touched?
No, that was touched.
It was,
Horst,
okay.
You're right.
Did see people moving away from the play, but it was just a setup for the corner kick. Yeah. Just whiplash, back and forth we go. Stanley to take this one. And St. Louis finally break through.
Hard to do much more than what Fink did, and Sparrow was just outstanding.
Ball knocked down in the center, cleared away. Hilton. In swinging ball, back post too far for Dequa. And there is Brody to push it out of the 18-yard box. Dakers, Dequa. Heavy touch by Reynolds, and then stolen by Hurd. Can Real Monarchs get a counter going in the final minute of the half? Chang. As Kavita, the right back, out with him on the left, and he wins the throwback for St. Louis.
Yeah, not looking with St. Louis. He wanted to take that quickly. I think they just wanted to reset this apparently, but last few seconds, you got to try and take advantage of numbers when going forward when you can.
Have a day, Connor Sparrow. That was the story of this first half.
Already, as we mentioned, I kind of alluded when you see the numbers, team of the week. But certainly that one's going to be a finalist for save of the week for the USL.
I'll tell you what, with Real Salt Lake too, Nick Raimondo is 38 years old. And auditions are open for his replacement. And Connor Sparrow very much putting his name into the fray. He's already on a first-team contract. Yeah. There's the halftime whistle. brought to you by Hollywood Casino. And it is Real Monarchs somehow in the lead, despite getting outpossessed 60-40. A penalty kick goal for Chandler Hoffman is the difference.
And St. Louis cannot be unhappy with the way they control play, but certainly Anthony Poulos is going to look at this into the box. Guys, we got to test Sparrow. Now, obviously, Sparrow's been up to test on the 2 times that he's had to be, but everything else has been pretty much right at him, and they've had a lot of chances. Just miss the post or go right at Sparrow.
Real Monarchs with a 1-0 lead at the break. We will take a break. The Hollywood Casino halftime show is after this. Highlight stats and plenty more from Toyota Stadium in St. Louis. The home side on the poor end of it after 45 minutes.
This is my Toyota RAV4. It's more tech-savvy than I am. It comes standard with Toyota Safety Sense. Similar features would cost over $2,000 more than a Honda CR-V. I don't know tech, but I know a good deal. And for that, I give my RAV4 5 stars.
Tested, trusted Toyota. Every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, our no-cost maintenance plan, plus roadside assistance. Hurry in today. Find yours at buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
A lottery ticket is so much more than a piece of paper. It's wonder, opportunity, dreams. And not just for players. 100% of the profits from every Missouri Lottery ticket you play goes back to schools, teachers, and students. Play it forward with the Missouri Lottery.
Lewis trying to get control, and in control instead, the net is left open, and it's a goal for Kyle Craig. The keeper way off the line, and Craig made it 10.
Ball sent in, and it finds a home early for St. Louis. Ball sent across, and they finally done it. St. Louis FC has found the back of the net.
Our score at halftime, 1-0 to Real Monarchs, brought to you by Hollywood Casino. Tomorrow is Father's Day, which means if you haven't picked up a gift for Dad yet, you should probably get a move on. And tonight we hear from some of our players on gifts they've given their dads and those they hope to get from their children. Here's tonight's Salute to Fathers, presented by Hollywood Casino.
Watching soccer growing up, all my favorite players, they always have walked out with their kids and have a jersey that says dad or whatever it is. And so I've always kind of dreamed of that moment, and to be able to do it in our first home game here was a dream come true. She wanted to be a pro soccer player when she is growing up. I think I would tell her it's hard. It's really hard. There's a lot of bad times that you know, sort of match the good times, but if she sets her mind to it and believes in herself, I'll believe in her, and I know she can do whatever she wants to do.
When Carter went to my first game, I mean, it was just a special moment. It was nice because I carried out in the field before the game and everything, scored 2 goals, so it was nice.
It was just a special moment. Something I've kind of always dreamed about. When I have a kid, I wanted to walk out with him, and so that was really a special moment for me to be able to bring him on the field with me, and probably do it sometime soon.
Is there anything you learned from your dad as a young soccer player?
Yeah, I've learned everything from my dad. He taught me everything to be a defender and how to read the game and think steps ahead, and watched a lot of film and whatnot, and watched him play, and I kind of learned from him when I was a young boy and wanted to be like him. So yeah.
Some advice I've received from my father. Be accountable for your actions, both on and off the field, and just do your best. You can always work harder to become a better soccer player or a better person, no matter what. So just keep working and striving for more.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
We came here with a unique challenge, and that was to solve the problem of producing over 500 games and do so in a cost-effective way for the clubs, in a way that produced high-quality broadcasts and standardize the look and feel of all of those productions. Outside of the live event, the match experience, outside of that, the broadcast is the window into the brand for the club and for the league. You need to be able to capture that in a compelling way with a quality broadcast.
A large portion of the teams work with our partner Vista on REMI Productions, remote integration. What that means is that the production of the game is actually handled mostly away from site. So the way these games work is a truck will show up locally at the stadium. There'll be 4 camera operators there, and those signals are sent all the way here to Fort Lauderdale. And here locally at Vista, the game is cut. The game has graphics put on top of it. Replay is done here, and in many cases, the play-by-play is actually done on site here at Vista as well. So after the game is fully produced, we have a signal that goes to our partner ESPN Plus for US distribution. We have a signal that goes to YouTube for international distribution. And then for the teams that have an over-the-air local broadcast regional sports network deal, the signal is sent to their partners as well. So even for the games that aren't done with a REMI production, all games flow through Vista, and all those signals have to get sent out all over the world to reach the fans of USL. Because of those REMI productions, we'll oftentimes have 5 or 6 games going on at one time. Nobody is doing sports REMI productions on this level consistently.
We have built one of the largest REMI production models of any league in the world. And now we're able to deliver anywhere in the world to our partners at ESPN, fully produced matches from all over the country. We couldn't be more thrilled with the progress we've made and some of the innovative things now we're going to be able to start to bring into the broadcast moving forward.
Jaime left that one, swung in, down inside, headed on, and he scores! Ken Tribbett again picks up the goal for Penn FC.
Camden Fayewo redirected and into the back of the net. And Fresno has taken the first lead of the night.
Estrada still giving chase. Brought down nicely. A shot! A wonder goal! What an equalizer! S2 goal level.
Defensively for the Fresno team.
Tenari, one touch for Brian White. Feeds right side, and that's a goal! He comes into the game, Andrew Tenari, and he finishes the play. 3-1 for Red Bulls.
Oh, Calistri with the spin. And finds a way to slot it past Fabian Serta. What a return game for Joey Calistri. As his second goal of the night on the brace. Ninchoff with the swing. Pickens upstairs to deny it. Wow.
Plays it to the middle with Taylor Hunter. Now it's taken away. Trouble here for Switchbacks FC. A shot in, a great save by Stuart Sayus. Barreling down on him was Chase Minter.
To find Miller. Miller's going to crank one over. Rios is there. Oh my, punched away by Newton.
And there's a reason why he was Van Avik, and another save by Reynish.
Looks like he's going to service this one in.
Into the box, the header, and a big save by Dykstra.
This is my Toyota RAV4. It's more tech-savvy than I am. It comes standard with Toyota Safety Sense. Similar features would cost over $2,000 more and a Honda CR-V. I don't know tech, but I know a good deal. And for that, I give my RAV4 5 stars.
Tested, trusted Toyota. Every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, our no-cost maintenance plan, plus roadside assistance. Hurry in today. Find yours at buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees.
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino St. Louis.
St. Louis FC dominating this game in every way but the scoreboard. It's 1-0 to Real Monarchs off an early penalty kick by Chandler Hoffman. St. Louis native Connor Sparrow with a couple of phenomenal saves. We're here on the Hollywood Casino halftime show. Evan West and Mike Pepper with you from Toyota Stadium in St. Louis. Mike, St. Louis has to feel a little hard done by the scoreline, but they just haven't been able to finish.
Yeah, and that's key. Anytime you get into the area, but I think when you look at the amount of opportunities, when we go back and we get an opportunity to see everything, we're going to see St. Louis did not capitalize on those opportunities, but Sparrow was outstanding on a couple.
Let's have a look at the highlights from this first half. Here is the penalty kick foul. We're going to get to that pretty early here. And it was on a corner kick, which is something you don't always see. St. Louis was often flying at the start, but again, they didn't test Sparrow too much until this right here.
This was great. Calistri going near post, and Sparrow able to get there. Good positioning. And so often you see the goalkeeper cheat thinking he's going far post. He held his ground and able to just get that up and off the post.
Paul Pogba scored a similar one for France that just barely went over the line earlier today in the World Cup. Not so lucky for Calistri. All right, here's the foul. Penalty?
Greg, you can see it just into that shoving. You see the body going down well before the ball gets into that area. And certainly Daniel Gutierrez knew it was, and Chandler Hoffman knew what to do with it.
Hoffman just about automatic on those 65 goals in 90 games in USL. He just did everything right.
Yeah, and look, you send the keeper the other way. Hoffman able to put it nice with pace down to the keeper's right.
And the rest of this half was St. Louis having chances and just not being able to cash one in. They took 12 shots in the first half, 7 of them on target, and they didn't score a goal.
Yeah, and so it obviously goes down 7 saves for Sparrow. 5 of them really routine, but the 2 outstanding saves, including the one we're about to see. You can see the pushing and shoving that ensued as Beasler tried to go away, but it was for the foul. Horst got that yellow card.
Yeah, so a couple of bookings for Real Monarchs in that first half. Here's a great through ball by Fall, and again, Dakers with maybe the best chance they had all half, and it just popped over his foot.
We see 7 saves, or 7 shots on those. That's not one of them. That one should have been.
This was the only shot on target in the run of play for Real Monarchs, and a comfortable save by Gomez. And you see the statistics, and if you look at that, you would think that St. Louis would be up 2-0 at the very least, and instead, it's 1-0 to the Road Top.
Yeah, I mean, I know they always say it, stats are for losers, and we go on there, not to say that, because you're right. I mean, you see that, and you continue to go. It's going. You just have to continue playing your game, but you've got, if you're Anthony Poulos, you tell your forwards, you tell Greg, you tell Dequa, you tell Calistri, get it on target. We know that Sparrow made the fantastic saves in this half to keep us scoreless, but keep testing them, because the only way you're going to score is if you put it on target.
Sun pretty much went down completely during the halftime break, and we are set to play the final 45 under the lights here at Toyota Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. The home side have won 2 straight to get over the red line. Real Monarchs for the 2nd straight year, top of the West. And you can see St. Louis is coming along. They have started to score more and more over the course of the season. And you feel that with the form they're in, there are goals in this game for them.
And now that number, obviously 2.5 of 5 goals, but boy, oh boy, the opportunities. I mean, that number could have easily gone up 1 or 2 here tonight. Just so hasn't been the case.
St. Louis kicking off to start here in the second half. And they really, like you said, you look at it from, what are you going to talk about in the dressing room? They really shouldn't be doing anything differently. But what adjustments does Jamison, Olave, and Real Monarchs have to make?
Well, really, I don't think you do. You got the 10 wins, a 3. I mean, yes, you want to just make sure your team, but you want to make sure you're tightening up, midfield and up front. But you know the results are there. You just don't want to have to put that pressure on Sparrow. But already we see an open man in here and eventually the recovery. But if that passes to the feet, he's able to turn again and go at the defense.
The ball was in front of Dakers from Sean Reynolds, the center back. Not quite noted for his passing as a 6'1" pure defender.
And the reason I say not a lot into that sense is this is game 2, a hot night in Missouri of a road trip. Just go out and continue to compete and defend, but certainly you don't want to give space 30 yards out from net, and because St. Louis eventually you would have to think those opportunities would go against you. So I would certainly think that that would be the instruction out of the Real Monarchs locker room.
Monarchs switching the field. Here's Brody charging in on Dakers. Brody, the right back, and his pass errant. Portillo slides it forward, but right to Kavita for St. Louis, and the home side can get back on the attack as they were for almost the entirety of the first half. They, again, 12 shots, 7 on target, 60% possession. They did just about everything right except score a goal. And that's where Real Monarchs, for the last 2 years, have had the edge.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't win 30 times in 46 games without doing something right.
Results don't lie, that's for sure.
Long ball played out by Beasler. And Dequa will throw in towards the box. Gregg one-on-one with Horst. Knocks it down, but couldn't get Dakers free. You would think Connor Sparrow's night not nearly over based on the way St. Louis has been playing so far.
Well, you see games turn, whether it be in that sense, but already still with pressure and still creating a few chances and holding on to possession just a little bit more as St. Louis will continue to press forward.
St. Louis looking to win 3 straight, something Real Monarchs have already done twice this year. They won 9 in a row last year from April 22nd to June 19th. And they've already had 2 separate 4-game winning streaks this year, the first of which had 3 of those games on the road. No foul called on Portillo. Mare looking to get the counter started, instead it short circuits. Dakers, Dequa running free, and Beasler does well to keep Dequa away from the ball. It's a goal kick.
He was running just a little fast for Dequa. Reached in to get that touch, and when he missed it, just no way to recover to it before it went over the line.
Well, Sparrow is St. Louis native. He came up in the area. Of course, an extremely soccer-rich history in St. Louis. The St. Louis Soccer League, which was one of the best in the United States in the 20th century. In the first part of it, they were founded in 1907. And the first time St. Louis played in the U.S. Open Cup 100 years ago this year in 1918.
All amazing stats there. And my favorite, you pointed out, was the college that Sparrow went to.
Yes, he went to, first he started at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, but then transferred to Creighton, where of course he was a Sparrow playing as a Blue Jay.
And tonight, a home of the Cardinals.
That's exactly right.
There you go. That one goes over the line.
Yeah, just a little bit too far for Aiden Stanley, but again, the right idea from St. Louis. But there is Mr. Sparrow, the man of the hour so far. With, you saw the saves of the week in that highlight reel. Some impressive stops. I'm not sure there was a better one than the one that Sparrow made in that first half.
No, strong header by Fink from just about 10 out, and Sparrow with no one on the back post, so was able to lunge that direction. Wasn't quite there, but certainly a reaction to keep it out of the net.
Portillo has heard. Mare making the run. Adams for Mare. Heads it central, but he was offside. Free kick, St. Louis.
Well, Mare had a little bit of room there, but it was in that just a yard beyond that last defender, but that's really the first time that we haven't seen, or we've seen some shaky marking from St. Louis tonight.
Not something you see from them very often all season. Mare from Cordoba, Argentina. He doubles as a tennis player in his spare time. He was probably a little frustrated with the performance of his countrymen earlier today, drawing tiny Iceland. There's another opportunity for St. Louis. Greg riding with Ryden. Well, there's Adams to turn it the other way. Mare. Handball. Or was he offside? Either way, I saw it coming.
Yeah, you're right.
Touch Hurd in the hand. It was one or the other. The same result.
Free kick.
Yep.
One, as long as you're not shooting. Offside would be the indirect kick, the handball direct. But when you play it short, same result. You lose the ball. You know, you talked about the World Cup, and obviously 8 games. I correctly predicted Iceland, Argentina in a draw.
Wow.
7 of 8 so far. Here,
I didn't think that it would be a blowout like a lot of people said, but I was pretty surprised that Argentina did not pull out the win. They are maybe the most purely entertaining team in the World Cup. Heroic up front and a little bit hard done at the back.
And to be fair, I mean, I got the end result correct. And again, that's what we're talking about in this one. Results are what matters, but Lionel Messi, you don't expect to miss a penalty kick, or at least have one saved.
Fall. See Real how compact they've gotten defensively. Couldn't quite slide it free. There's Reynolds. Good line-breaking pass. He has Dikwa. Centers it up. Greg making the run. But Horst got there first. What a pass that was by Reynolds, though. I kind of knocked his passing ability earlier. Apologies and retraction.
That one able to find, and ball played in. Another good opportunity.
It overlaps Stanley in front of Dikwa. Calistri comes on in, and Beasler steps in front of him. Played right back to Calistri. Reigning USL Player of the Week. Fall from long range. It was deflected for a corner.
Yeah, and you want to take those shots. Again, don't be deterred by what we've seen from Sparrow. You want to continue to test him. This one will result in a corner.
Well, the first shot of the second half for St. Louis. Hilton over to take it. An Electro Savings corner kick. 8th of the match for St. Louis. Comes in, pops straight up. Sparrow lunges and hauls it in.
I'm surprised we don't see. Well, I'm not going to see a card. I thought the elbow was up a little high. In particular, you take such a run, and you know, look, you don't want to give the keeper a free opportunity, but when running from that distance, I think we have a
Real Monarchs player down here from off of that collision.
Yeah.
And clearly a foul. And it's Horst who is shaken up. David Horst, the veteran, 32 years old, originally from Hershey, Pennsylvania. Of course, the same hometown as the Wonder Boy, Christian Pulisic. Plying his trade with Borussia Dortmund, although, of course, the transfer rumors to the Premier League are always swirling around him.
I don't know if it's psychosomatic or not, but I smell chocolate.
Oh, that does sound good, doesn't it?
Yes. Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Tell you what, as a bit of a theme park aficionado myself, I rate Hershey Park very highly.
Really?
Really great place.
What is the favorite part of the Hershey Park? Is it the roller coasters itself?
You'd think it would be the chocolate, right?
Yeah.
But the 2 best things that you can eat there are actually kettle corn and cheese fries.
Together as well, or just separate? Have you ever tried them together?
It's quite a radical suggestion. I might have to give that a whirl the next time I'm up in Pennsylvania. Horst being helped off here, but doesn't appear that he's in any danger of having to come off. Sparrow will push everybody up after the delay. And further and further and further.
One of my favorite things, Sparrow is 1 yard in front of the goal at that point, but we'll push it about 3 yards outside the goal box. Free kick. But rules have changed slightly from my day.
Hey, it's a free kick, not a restricted kick.
It's true. Of course, they play in color now, and it used to be black and white when I did. Ooh, bad touch, but he got away with it.
That was the first time he touched it since coming back in. That was Horst. Here's Adams driving forward for Real Monarchs. Out to Hurd. In swinging ball, Mare, but it's Gomez. who snatches it out of the air. Not a lot to do tonight for Tomas Gomez, a St. Louis native himself. He had been out of town for quite a while, plied his college trade at Georgetown. He trialed with the San Jose Earthquakes before settling in Rochester, and after about 8 years away, finds himself back home.
Gomez and Wall Fall, both from Rochester last year.
That's right. Fall there for 2 years, as was Gomez. Here's Hilton. Stanley stayed onside, and the teenager, some fancy footwork as he comes center. Stanley, pass was blocked. Chang does well to keep that ball away.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Rochester was hosting a game tonight as the Rhinos taking a year off in Toronto FC. Kind of the little traveling series.
Ball pushed forward here for Dequa. Corner. Brody touched it last.
Well, bad touch with Dequa, but good recovery in order to at least earn a corner kick out of that. Had kind of that chance in the touch. And a lot of times it's so tough on the artificial turf as well, as that ball will continue to roll on you, and then maybe take an odd spin. Dequa at least able to get the corner kick here on the recovery.
Hilton to take it. Not much there. So he hit kind of a line drive to the near post when everybody was on the other end of the goal. Hilton back in. Fink heads back. Dequa with space. Trying to touch it in. Here's Fall. That deflects for another St. Louis Electro Savings corner.
Boy, oh boy. Fink timed his run so well. And he was behind the defense. And the drop back. And look, you know that center defenders don't necessarily have the best touch, but if you can get it in there, you have a shot.
Well, look, every central defender secretly wants to be a striker.
As does every goalkeeper, too. I mean, practice is that way, but and look, he's the right thing. He's got to think maybe if the defender's behind him, but he just doesn't know. And the drop back put it back into danger. And again, another corner kick here for St. Louis.
There's Stanley, the teenager, to deliver it. You got Fall there at the far post. Dequa and Greg maybe to make a run to the back post here. Ball comes high for Greg, but it was Horst who elevated above him to play it out towards the near side. And Dakers on the ball here. Brody keeps it in and sends it forward. And Hurd slips his man. Here's a counter. Josh Hurd all alone, just driving the ball forward. Reynolds falling back, and Hurd eventually has to go the other direction. Ambitious though there from Josh Hurd, the 23-year-old from Victoria, British Columbia. Beautiful, beautiful place that is.
Make the run, force the action. You never know what's going to happen, but St. Louis able to recover.
Not a great touch there by Calistri, but he got it back to Stanley. Both fullbacks on one side of the field here for St. Louis. Here's Fall driving forward. And who needs fullbacks? Here they come. It's Calistri. He's got Dakers in tons of space in the center. Keeps it on the ground to Dequa, and they pass it back for Fall. It gets behind him, and here's Real Monarchs. You saw Fall just kind of wilt there after he missed that one.
Yeah, you don't know, do you just kind of get twisted up or something, or it's just a frustration? You don't like seeing that coming into the hour mark, because either if it's not some sort of a little tweak of some sort, it's maybe a little bit of fatigue. You know, might be a sign for Anthony Poulos.
Only a 5-man bench tonight for St. Louis. They are dealing with plenty of injuries. Kavita fouls Hurd.
We might see this as a free kick for St. Louis and a card for Kavita. I don't know. Yeah. It was
he's going to go into the book.
Yeah, the elbow came swinging back, and certainly saw Hurd, who was holding on to him first.
So the former Salt Lake man, though he did not play with Josh Hurd.
Yeah, you see that the end result there is running down. Hurd holding on to Kavita.
Hurd, thankfully, you just saw him go out of the frame. Yeah. He's back up. Hurd's got a keen sense of humor. He was asked by the PR team at Real Salt Lake what he would be doing if he was not a soccer player. And he said, I'd be Ed Sheeran's double.
Can he sing?
Body double.
Okay.
Adams. Portillo. Couldn't hang on. Real Monarchs, though, they're finding their way back into the game a little bit, and they already have the lead. Usually when I say that, it's a team that's trailing. But that penalty kick by Hoffman early on is held up. St. Louis has just struggled to find that last piece as we hit the 1 hour mark. And Reynolds off on a different page rather than Stanley. Jose Hernandez will be the first substitute for Real Monarchs. He will replace Hoffman, who has scored his 6th goal of the season. Chandler Hoffman with that penalty kick will leave with 65 goals in 90 USL games. An absolutely incredible number. Hernandez has appeared 7 times for Real Salt Lake. He is on an MLS contract. But down here in the USL with the first team off, we see the penalty kick once more.
Yeah, the 1 goal in the game, and obviously Hoffman, we've talked about his numbers. He's been very efficient in penalty kicks. I know they probably wish he was able to take all of them against Sacramento last year in the playoffs, but he did what he does. He buried this one, and that's the difference so far.
What a shocker that game was.
Yeah,
Sacramento knocking off Real Monarchs in the first round after the Monarchs had come 2 points from breaking the all-time points record in a season. Not a good pass here by Fink. Here's Chang. They have put Hernandez in as the number 9 here as Chang gets fouled. Hernandez, one of the smallest players in the league, 5'3", 126 pounds, out of Mexico City. Played 2 years at UCLA before returning to the Real Salt Lake Academy and eventually making his way onto the first team last year. Chang slow to get up. Be a decent looking free kick for Real Monarchs if they can find a way here to double their lead.
It's a little far out, but let's see if they're going to go ahead and maybe take a strike on that.
Adams sends one at the goal. Not a terrible idea, but it got a little bit away from him. And Gomez ready to drive it away.
Yeah, we see those strikes occasionally that are, for the lack of a better term, magical for that distance, but
they're magical for a reason.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, it's like it's 1 and 1 and a. And look, all it takes is 1. But that one, a curling's not going to beat a goalkeeper like Gomez. You would think typically not.
Boy, it came to mind there though that if Real Monarchs do find a second, what a gut wrench that would be for St. Louis with the way they've played tonight.
It really is. And it might come off those set pieces. I mean, that's obviously the corner kick resulted in the penalty kick.
Right. Fall, Calistri, Kavita. Settling in again. Let's try Hilton on the left. Dakers, Stanley. Cutting inside. Stanley for Dikwa with space turned away. Beasler for Real Monarchs to get it out of trouble.
You know, it's interesting when we talked with Anthony Poulos earlier this week. He really liked the progression of his team from the start of the year. They're starting to come together, and we've seen a lot of that today, creating chances. It's got to get better in the box.
Dakers back post, no water in the pool. Ryden turns it upfield. And Portillo to start the charge for Real Monarchs. Out wide, nice one touch by Mare to get Hurd free down the left wing. Hurd working on Fink. He's got an overlapping runner. It's Hernandez. And the Mexican native back to Hurd. Swung, didn't shoot, and passed backwards for Michael Chang.
The good news is all those green jerseys back behind the ball did force it, but Salt Lake still is in trouble here.
Brody, what a run, and Gomez snatches it out of thin air. Well, that's a right back taking the initiative and going all the way towards the spot. A nice save by Gomez.
Yeah, not a lot of pace on the shot, but what an outstanding job into hanging it on. Gomez, certainly, as you talked about, a second one would be devastating at this point. Gomez did what he had to do.
Hilton has Dikwa. Stayed on side. Dikwa for Dakers. St. Louis settling back in. It wouldn't have been something if, after all this possession, St. Louis scored on a breakaway counterattack.
Get that chance after a big save by Gomez.
See if it fires them up a little bit. We are about 10 minutes away from the second hydration break in the game. And we are probably sub 90 at this point, but if we are, not by much with the sun down in St. Louis. Dangerous pass by Fall. I'll tell you what, Stanley over there at left back has caused a lot of problems for Real Monarchs, both with getting upfield and with his passing.
Yeah, and we've seen that, and obviously with the left leg that asked on those set pieces to curl it in and send it back into the box, although we give him the props.
Yeah, that one goes straight at Sparrow.
And we see Gomez, or the critical save from Gomez perhaps on previous chance here for Salt.
I just love the initiative by Brody.
And we had a good angle on it. That would have made it inside the post. So Gomez, good job hanging on to it.
Yeah, he didn't win the Golden Glove in the league 2 years ago for a reason. And with the Rhinos taking the year off, this was kind of a team that made a lot of sense for him, and not just because they were green. It was the same, similar, we're going to stay compact, we're going to defend behind the ball in numbers. Similar philosophy. It was a good takeaway by Dakers. Ball through. Dikwa making his run, and he was offside. Dakers had the ball in an inviting position. Dikwa thought he had stayed on, but the assistant referee, Daniel Ortega, thought otherwise. And now the referees, who had been mostly spared throughout this second half by the Toyota Stadium crowd, are hearing it again. Here's Chang for Real Monarchs. Back for Brody. He just made that terrific, incisive run into the box. Real Monarchs will take the air out. Now let's see how effective is the pressure when you're over an hour into the game in these conditions.
I think, that's when we'll see with the such. We've seen Hernandez on the other end really kind of pressuring a little bit more. But it's also, it might not have to be as tight and as effective because the fatigue goes the other way as well. So perhaps just a little sloppy on the pass. And it will be interesting to see, is St. Louis ready to make this up?
They're going to bring on really their only pure offensive player that is on the bench because of their injuries, Seth Rudolph, 27 years old, out of Belleville, Illinois. He will come on for fall.
We saw that fall a little bit earlier. Maybe a little struggle with his pace, just kind of from what we saw.
Substitution brought to you by G&W Meats. Ball driven in, but Fink there to handle it. Greg holding up for Rudolph. Nice job by Horst to poke it forward.
Yeah, you talked about Rudolph as really the only offensive sub, but just the injuries have really kind of hit St. Louis hard over the last couple of weeks. Corey Herzog, getting a lot of starts.
Barden, who had been their captain, he is on the shelf. Kyle Culbertson was described as 50-50 coming into tonight. He started on the bench. Possible that we will see the former Columbus Crew Academy man in the game, but thus far he has remained on the sideline. Rudolph, 7 goals last year for St. Louis. He was second on the team. Spent 3 years in the Swedish 3rd division before returning home. Now in his 3rd season with St. Louis FC.
Nice ball.
Yeah, very nice. Turned into the middle for no one in particular, though, and Reynolds able to handle it. That was Hernandez making the run. But Mare, the intended target, was about 5 feet off the ball. Well, throw in for Real Monarchs, who have found more of the game here in the second half.
That's just a bit, too, as you point out, but it's not just on counter, too. They're controlling a little bit more.
Dropped in for Chang. It got over his head. Stanley, again, positioning himself really well to deal with the threat. 17-year-old, I've been very impressed by him.
Yeah, he's done a really good job, and as you talk about 17, to be making an impact here, and it's a big part of it. Obviously, Duke Blue Devils will be getting a good young player here next season.
To have a kid coming in who's already had USL experience. He's been into camp and has appeared for both the U20 and U18 of the U.S. men's national team. Mare for Real. Portillo slipped. Rudolph keeping that pressure up. Horst clears out of danger. Hernandez Heavy touch. Calistri coming after him, but Hernandez settles it in. Mare advancing with numbers. Ryden. Cross deflected by Kavita, stays in play. Ryden and Kavita battling. And it's Fanuel Kavita who comes out on the ball after Ryden tried to push it past him. Well done by the right back. There's those two big fullbacks battling together, 6'2" versus 6'1". Brody has Chang. Real Monarchs definitely finding more of the possession. The last 5 minutes have probably been their best of this game. Adams forward to Hernandez, chips it on, but Hurd couldn't get in behind as Fink was able to get ahead to it. Now a run from Ryden. Ryden with a shot, oh boy!
Well struck.
Just wide of the post. And Gomez wants to get the counter going and doesn't look like he'll be able to.
Good opportunity. Look at that. Boy, that was just a little wider up the near post. You had it, but certainly the strike from that angle laces into it, gets it underneath the crossbar. It's so often you see it, it just wasn't on target.
Ryden out of Norman, Oklahoma. He has scored 4 goals this year from the left back position for Real Monarchs.
And one of the things too, we noticed on the last corner kick, the adjustment. Sam Fink really caused some trouble in the first half. Ryden just shadowing him all the way. We'll see if that continues should St. Louis get another corner kick. They just put Ryden on tight with Fink.
Calistri, shot wide, and a goal kick for Sparrow. Not a bad build up there for St. Louis.
Certainly you like the shot. He kept it down just wide. It was a difficult ball. It was bouncing away from him.
16-6 in shots for St. Louis in this game. But again, Real Monarchs hunting for a second. Both teams with 2 subs still left to be used here in the second half. A little bit surprising maybe in this heat that they haven't done so, although I think maybe at the hydration break we could get at least a couple.
Yeah, perhaps.
It'll be in about 2.5 minutes, give or take, that we get that hydration break. Brutal temperatures here in the middle of June in central Missouri. Here's Kavita. St. Louis trying to take the air out of the game a little bit after Monarchs. And with Hernandez, a more possession-based player, coming into the number 9 role. Had their best spell of the game in the last several minutes. Rudolph dispossessed. Here's Brody. And that pressure just not quite as relentless here from St. Louis's forwards in the second half. Mare fouls Reynolds. Juan Ignacio Mare trying to turn on his man. And the Argentinian is whistled by Gutierrez.
A lot of pulling by both players in that situation.
Stanley, Route 1, wanted Greg. Heads down for Dakers. Goes the wrong direction for St. Louis. Poulos, the coach, tosses to Stanley. Try and get things back underway. And he wants them to push here and to try and get an equalizer. In a game they've dominated, they risk dropping all 3 points. Rudolph can't find Dakers. And Chang for Real Monarchs has Mare. And it draws St. Louis out a little bit. Portillo, who took the captain's armband when Hoffman went off for Hernandez. And to play through Mare, who's really taken over that central striker mantle in this system for Real Monarchs now with Hoffman off, with Hernandez more of as a false 9.
Drops him in behind him, absolutely.
Kavita for St. Louis. Would think that the next stoppage will probably be the water break here. Rudolph tripped on the ball a little bit. Stanley there to keep it alive. Stanley and Portillo collide on the ball. Hernandez can't get to it, but Dakers hits it right to Mare. And Mare looking to slide it through to Hernandez, and Reynolds got just enough of it to save that one from being a one-on-one breakaway for Hernandez.
A little physical play there. Started with the tackle by Real Monarchs. Nothing resulted out of it. And you saw a little frustration or just whacking at the ball a little bit. And Gomez now will try his luck, send him across the field.
Brody. Chang heads to the middle. Hernandez, here we go again. Real Monarchs really pressing for that second goal. Hernandez making the run. Slides in behind Kavita. St. Louis get behind the ball. Hernandez shot blocked and then volleyed away violently by Stanley all the way back towards Connor Sparrow. I sort of feel like St. Louis is tiring. They've spent so much time pushing and getting forward with nothing to show for it. There's Calistri. They have another chance in him. Rudolph with space, heavy touch, he shoots, save Sparrow, diving to his left.
It was in the center of the net, but again, well held. Sparrow has been outstanding when need be today. Another chance here is Rudolph, we'll see it. Well held.
Yet another save for Connor Sparrow. Not all of them have been difficult, but that's 8 on the day, including one that still baffles me.
Reach back behind him, pull it off the line off a strong header from Fink.
Coming very late in the first half. St. Louis, if they do drop this game, will feel unbelievably frustrated, like I imagine a lot of Real Monarchs opponents do, that they played this game and would come up holding the short end of the scoreline.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be very frustrating, and particularly those two opportunities just robbed by Sparrow. And really, when you go back and you look at it here, as we continue on without the hydration.
Stanley up to, well, we haven't had a stoppage.
That's true. But you're looking at the opportunity, certainly as of now, and St. Louis still has time to change it, but candidate of the week, or a goalkeeper of the week, first team candidate here is Sparrow, as well as save of the week.
No question, the kind of game he's had. The 8 saves jump out to you, and yes, some of them are empty, but boy, that he's had two
outstanding.
Yeah, two outstanding and one pretty good one.
Pretty good, solid. And obviously, when you go, there's just a lot of time into this, and that continues on. But Sparrow has been a difference maker.
Here is the hydration break, as we'll get you caught up on this game so far, and somehow, some way, Real Monarchs still ahead of St. Louis FC. This was the foul in the 14th minute by Kyle Gregg on a corner, where Gutierrez ruled that he had pushed too much, and Hoffman bagged the penalty kick a minute later. That has stood for over an hour for Real Monarchs.
And that's it. You take advantage of opportunities, and particularly in that first half, that's what they did. St. Louis controlled it, but Salt Lake.
Well, if St. Louis can't get on the good end of this result, they'll have a chance in a week, but it's going to be a tough one. They go to Sacramento to take on the Republic, one of the most popular sides in the USL, and a team that's featured quite a lot of quality over the years.
Yeah, and Sacramento has really been good and at home. That's going to be a tough task. That's why it's critical that St. Louis will want to look at getting an opportunity here. Right now, Sacramento is on the road, losing at San Antonio with about 10 minutes remaining as this game's going on concurrently. A 1-0 result there as well, but that's not over either. So both those teams look like, at least as they stand right now, will be wanting to change up their luck.
Sacramento currently sitting 3rd in the West. In fact, 2nd on points with Phoenix Rising, although Didier Drogba's club out in Arizona have a game in hand on Sacramento. But that is a team that has really parlayed their luck this year into some excellent results. They only have a +4 goal differential, and yet are sitting on 28 points through 16 games.
Absolutely crazy when you look at that. And Phoenix, certainly a lot of great talent around the USL, and games going on where you see outstanding saves, outstanding plays, outstanding results. Phoenix right now, though, getting one of the 2 winless teams at home tonight against Tulsa. Toronto already losing tonight, so both those teams are staring at it, but really important for Real Salt Lake if you can continue that to get a big road victory, knowing that the odds are lined up that Phoenix may get their 3 points themselves. And we had a hot game. It's not hot in the desert right now, is it?
I mean, is it ever? Phoenix Rising, by the way, the only other team to come into Toyota Stadium and beat St. Louis this year. They are 3-1-2 here at home. Brody, that was a dangerous pass, but he has Adams. You want to be careful centering it up when you're that far in your own final third. It ends up with Kavita for St. Louis. So out of the hydration break, we'll see how much stoppage we get. We were surprised to only have 3 minutes in the end of the first half with a couple of injury delays and the hydration break. Anthony Pulis was particularly frustrated by it as his team were ascendant at the moment. Sparrow keeps this one out from going out over the end line, and we'll get to parry it away. And he's going to try and hold for as long as he can. We are entering keep away mode for Real Monarchs. Although they've looked quite good at times in the last 15 minutes going for a second.
Yeah, they've changed a little bit of the mood, and Hernandez has been effective in getting the ball, but that space, again, the player's a little more fatigued, and you get these subs that have these fresh legs can make a difference.
Here's Hernandez. Hurd on the overlap. Hurd with a shot well wide. A whistle's blowing.
I think they may have called a corner.
Did that catch somebody? Gutierrez says yes. And again, St. Louis not very happy with the official tonight. Well, they got on his bad side pretty early with that penalty call. Now Gutierrez talking to Jose Hernandez of Real Monarchs.
Yeah, but I do think he is still calling a corner kick at this point here. We go between the legs there, and maybe he just got a touch. Looked like may have been the foot on the follow-through, but
no, I didn't see it. I don't think there was any contact there.
Yeah, sometimes you hear that noise, and it may have just been the foot on the follow-through. But
right in, popped up by Beasler, but over the bar for a goal kick.
Oh boy, they got that ball back across. That near post almost found a second one for Real.
Yeah, Beasler just ran out of room. It was just a little bit tight to the post. And St. Louis maybe rushing things a little bit here. They don't look quite as controlled as they did earlier in the game. Of course, the heat and the humidity definitely a factor. Real Monarchs looking more and more confident in stealing 3 points on the road. It would be their 5th road win in 8 games this year. Just remarkable.
And unbeaten at home.
Indeed they are. They've opened Zions Bank Stadium with a draw against Las Vegas Lights. They enjoying their inaugural season, but have won 5 straight since. Real Monarchs back there for a game against Fresno FC, another team enjoying an inaugural season. That in 10 days' time. June 26th. A little Tuesday night soccer.
Tuesday night.
Long ball for Kavita, played into the stands. Our next substitute coming on for Real Monarchs, as we got a whistle here.
I think it was offside.
Yeah, indeed. Rise Williams out of Weston, Florida, is going to replace Michael Chang.
That's enough. Maybe that ball went over the line first. It looked like the referee, perhaps the ball prior to that had gone over the line, but we saw the referee or the assistant referee signal.
Yeah, it ended up being what they thought it was originally, as Williams is going to come on for Chang. Not a ton to do in the game for Michael Chang. It was really an incredible story. Defected from Cuba in 2012 while with the national team for a World Cup qualifier in Toronto. After the team trainer had gone to bed, he and 2 others used the fire escape of the hotel to sneak out, paid $430 to get to the border, and entered the United States with nothing, and ended up trialing for Charleston Battery. He spent 5 years there and now is signed with Real Monarchs.
It's crazy. I think last time I snuck down the fire escape, I was finding $400 to go out to the restaurants and nightclubs.
Why didn't you just use the elevator?
Well, yeah, we had curfew.
Oh boy,
his story is much better than mine.
Now we're going to get into the Mike Pepper playing day stories. Are we really going in that direction?
We need to watch it. We got a good one here still.
Well, we got 5 minutes to go. St. Louis here threatening. Kavita throws in for Greg. Gets it down for Calistri, but played away. St. Louis has got to keep it up here. And again, there's not much Anthony Poulos can do. There aren't any offensive players on the bench. They're all hurt, or they're already in the game. Kavita for Hilton, the English holding midfielder. Stanley. Hilton under pressure from Hernandez. Feeds through, Dakers. Out wide. Dikwa, cross on the ground to Greg. Centered up, but nobody there for St. Louis. And Portillo clears to Mare. Leaves it in front, Hurd. Settling it in, and he's away. Josh Hurd, one man to beat to get to the keeper. Nice tackle by Reynolds.
Yeah, good job, last man back. And we're going to see more of that perhaps in the last few minutes as St. Louis presses forward.
Here's Rudolph. Looking for Greg. He touched it. Greg tripped up.
Wow.
No penalty.
Wow. You see Sparrow, I mean, we've talked about what a great game he's had. He got caught in no man's land thinking that ball was going too far. Greg saying he was taken down, and my first look, I thought perhaps, and we saw a questionable penalty in the first half. What about here? Well, the ball was pushed past. I didn't really see enough to call a penalty kick there. I don't think it's but you know, Sparrow was out and he did get tripped up, but I think the ball was going out.
He goes to ground, he doesn't lift the leg up. There's nothing blatant that the referee's going to catch in real time.
He's holding his ground, but you wonder, because there was a penalty in the first half on a disputed call, obviously not to Daniel Gutierrez. He saw what he saw and he wasted no time in calling it, but certainly with the home credit, sometimes the referees are slightly influenced. You give them credit for not necessarily on that play, but perhaps there's something else in the last couple minutes in store.
Real Monarchs looking to kill the game off. Look at Brody. We've seen him make individual runs before in this game. He almost got all the way around the corner, but Rudolph caught up to him in time.
Shoulder charge. They still call it shoulder charge? Yes.
No.
Just shoulder out the ball there.
They call it whatever you want to call it, Mike. Here's Brody pushing it forward. Right to Reynolds. Real shouts handball.
Those Gen Xers know what I'm talking about. Not
Guilty,
the millennials.
Guilty as charged, millennial here. Maybe my mother's listening. Here's Fink. Not there, Brody. And St. Louis, with 2 minutes to added time, seemingly have run out of questions. Stanley going to try his luck on the outside. Dikwa with a heavy touch. And a goal kick for Sparrow.
Yeah, it's a good ball across. And just get a little ambitious, try and push it to the line and not bring it down enough.
Tell you what, though, I'm going to follow the career of that young man, Aiden Stanley.
Yeah.
Really impressed. He's got a good touch.
I won't tell him about any fire escapes. He's got a lot more in store for himself.
Sparrow. Nice return performance for him, too, after giving up 3 goals last week to Swope Park Rangers, or rather 3 days ago, I should say. He gets to come right back out, flick on, and it's easy does it for the goalkeeper. Trying to play it into himself there and risked a little bit, but Dakers unable to get on the other end of it.
Yeah, the clock, I mean, I don't quite get that because he basically holds on the ball for 12 seconds here as it is.
Yeah, you saved, what, 3 seconds by risking a dangerous giveaway?
Yeah, at that point, I mean, it's always better safe than sorry, and almost gave up the corner, although he still could have picked it up because of where it came from, but just want to be secure and everything.
Back heel over shot. Calistri charging forward for St. Louis. Fink making a run to the center. Calistri Working on Adams. Back to Hilton. And once more for Kavita. It looks like Fink has moved forward here for St. Louis as we hit 90 minutes. Just stoppage time left. 5 minutes for St. Louis. And offside called. No, they're just going to play on here as they show the time.
Yeah, just kept feeding it into the box, and you're going to see it and run back towards it. St. Louis really trying to push
Dakers
forward.
with some fancy footwork as he gets around Brody. Dakers in swinger, back post, Equa, he whiffed on it. And Horst clears. What a ball that was by Dakers after a phenomenal dribble. And Dequa just couldn't line it up. As we get the final sub, it's a center back coming on for a midfielder. James Moberg from Windsor, California, replaces Charlie Adams.
And you'll see he's making the way over. We see the 5 minute, but the longer he takes, we might see closer to 5.5, but off the little jog.
A time-honored tactic, making a substitution when you have the lead in stoppage time.
Yeah, if you can get that extra 30, 45 seconds somehow, do it.
So in comes James Moberg, who was the 50th overall pick in the MLS draft by Vancouver a few years ago, but ended up with Real Monarchs right out of college and has been there now in his 3rd season. Throw in Dequa, Kavita cross in, and Horst elevates over Gregg. Ryden looking to clear. Pop fly headed by Reynolds. Hilton in for Dakers. Dakers staying on it, pushed off. Somehow Williams got it away from it. St. Louis running short on time. Dakers pushing it forward. Rudolph tripped up, it goes out. Last touch by Real Monarchs. St. Louis have had everything but the goal in this game. And if Real Monarchs are able to hang on and post a clean sheet after this barrage, they've got to feel incredible. Rudolph in for Gregg, one touch. Not there. Mare under the header. Stanley for Reynolds. And Reynolds with a long ball. He's looking to the corner. Fink, yeah. Fink has Gregg. Gregg forward for Calistri. Moberg got there first. Dequa throws it in. It's popped up by Horst. Rudolph heads to the back post. No one there for St. Louis. And Moberg clears to Hurd.
Take it away.
Kavita, ball deflected down. Was a handball called?
I believe it was.
It'll be a free kick in a great spot for St. Louis.
About 25 yards out, it looks.
Oh boy, hang on, folks.
There's Cristiano Ronaldo when you need him here. Here's that opportunity here. Is again, just a turnover there. As that ball comes up, you know, perhaps that was probably even going out for a corner, or excuse me, for a goal kick, but knocked down, and actually it's just outside the area.
Oh, wow, this is a scary spot if you're Real Monarchs. They've defended this wild assault by St. Louis for over 90 minutes.
5-man ball.
Hilton and Stanley around the ball. It's Hilton, ball into the feet of the Real Monarchs wall, and Hernandez clears, and we'll see if there's another chance in this for St. Louis. Gomez, the keeper, coming all the way up, plays one into the box. Sparrow picks it off the head of Fink and throws it away. Here's Mare as Gomez retreats to goal. Mare working in on Stanley, centers Hernandez. And Real Monarchs just going to play keep away here as they try to grind out the last 60 to 90 seconds.
Dribbling towards the corner, that's what you're supposed to do. St. Louis, though, able to get it. They might have another chance in them. Yeah, that's one of the things Hernandez right there. I mean, look, you did the right thing. You take it to the corner, but then you backheel. I don't get that. Just be smart with it.
Gomez looking to drive it for a last-ditch Hail Mary. Over the head of Fink into no man's land. Here's Rudolph. Seth Rudolph into the box, carried away. Now the question with that substitution, how much time is left?
Boy, look at the fatigue of the St. Louis defenders. You
They
have
have
4 guys back that way.
Given it their all tonight.
Yeah.
And Real Monarchs appear as if they're going to hang on for 3 points on the road. What a performance by that defense, particularly here in the second half, and by their goalkeeper, Connor Sparrow, in the first half.
Still one more chance, it looks.
Stanley's going to take a shot, headed on and wide, and Sparrow runs it down and dives on top of it just to make sure that that is indeed the final play of the game.
Well, and again, you know, a valiant effort. Real Salt Lake really settled it down in the second half, but it was the first half play and heroics of Sparrow, and as St. Louis will say, a controversial penalty kick. But that's the difference tonight here, Evan.
It ends 1-0. Full time brought to you tonight by Edward Jones. Final score, Real Monarchs 1, St. Louis FC 0. They come up empty despite 17 shots, although they did only manage 1 on target in the second half. Chandler Hoffman, who came off at the hour mark with his 3rd goal in 2 games. That penalty kick standing up, and Tomas Gomez is going to get his final licks in with the officiating crew on the way out.
Yeah, I think, again, they're just asking. You know, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it now, I think, at this point, and it's a little bit of the frustration that is involved from it. And, you know, you go out, you run as hard as you can, 90 minutes, you outplay the best team in the league, and yet you feel you were robbed, and that is ultimate frustration.
A lot of good things to feel about, a lot of positives to draw from for St. Louis, but in the end, they'll look up at the scoreboard and they'll see defeat. Real Monarchs with their 5th road win of the year, a 1-0 victory. Full time brought to you by Edward Jones as the Monarchs go on the road and knock off St. Louis FC. We'll come back with highlights, stats to wrap this thing up for you. You're watching the USL on ESPN+.
Louis trying to get control, and in control instead, the net is left open, and it's a goal for Kyle Craig. The keeper way off the line, and Craig made it pay.
Ball sent in, and it finds a home early for St. Louis. Ball sent across, and they finally done it. St. Louis FC has found the back of the net.
Edward Jones full time. Real Monarchs win it 1-0 over St. Louis FC. The 5th road win of the year for the Monarchs, who improved their best in the West mark to 11-3-1. They are on 34 points through 15 games, as they are ahead of the pace they set last year at 67 points, winning the USL regular season shield.
And they were outstanding last year, and tonight, while not outstanding, the teams are going to look around the league and go, hey, Real won again on the road. They're not going to look and see how they did it, but that's what they do. You're opportunistic. You got the corner kick, a little careless play by St. Louis to give it away for the corner kick down in their own end, and certainly the penalty resulted in that. And that said it a couple times tonight. That's the difference, and you can see the frustration on Gomez's body.
Let's see how it happened. There were plenty of chances in this game for St. Louis, particularly in the first half. They took 7 shots on target in the first 45 minutes. Connor Sparrow standing on his head for Real Monarchs, and Joey Calistri was the first to challenge him.
Yeah, Calistri came in, and this was really, I thought that was outstanding, the best play of the game until a little bit later it was gone, and Calistri went in, and really not much more you can do. You try and take that open spot.
Here's the foul. You see Greg just at the very end of that play pushing down in the box. That's called a penalty by the eagle-eyed referee Daniel Gutierrez, and Hoffman catches it in for his 6th of the year. 65 USL goals and 90 league appearances. Just incredible stuff from the Alabamian for Real Monarchs, and that was the only goal in the game.
Yeah, impressive numbers there for sure. I think you look at when we see the replay of the penalty call, Gutierrez had an unobstructed view of what he saw, or what he thought he saw.
There were a couple of chances late on in the game for St. Louis FC, late on in the first half, I should say. One, a free kick caused by that foul on Calistri. This ended up in a yellow card for David Horst.
Yeah, and Horst was the first one there, but as you see, it's the follow-through, lifted up and took Kalisri down. Kalisri trying to jump over the play, and will resort to a penalty or a yellow card as Horst lifts that leg.
However, St. Louis unable to cash in. Dequa putting together maybe the best chance of the game here for Kadeem Dakers, and he knew it as soon as it went over the bar.
And you see, backing up, he was backing up, and that's the difference. I mean, if he's not backing up, he doesn't lift that one up. He's got to drive through it, and probably would have been a different result should he have done that.
Second half, more of the same. Real Monarchs actually had maybe the best chance of that second half. Tomas Gomez making a strong save. And then Rudolph here with a one real test of Sparrow, but a strong job going to his left. And St. Louis FC just can't find the end product. It's Real Monarchs with the 1-0 win.
Yeah, and the difference there, I mean, obviously the one on that was the goal, but shots on target 8. You're going to see the 8 saves by Connor Sparrow. 2 of them are outstanding. I'm sure we'll see one as a save of the week candidate for sure. And that's the difference. Probably first team making the big saves when he needed to.
You just hate to have 62% possession and lose the game. But that's what Real Monarchs do to you. They frustrated St. Louis enough and ended up with their 5th road win in 8 tries. Just the second team to win at Toyota Stadium in 2018.
Yeah, and St. Louis is going to have to go to Sacramento this week and try and reverse their fortunes. But certainly they've been playing better, and the play is something Anthony Poulos can build upon, if not the result.
A lot of good stuff to take out of this one for St. Louis, no doubt about it. Mike, your final thoughts from this one?
I would just mention Anthony Poulos can take away the positives that his team played well, outplayed the best team in the league. And if you're Real Monarchs, you go, you know what, we do what we do. That's our 11th win of the year. You're on the road. You take advantage of the opportunity given and be good enough in other areas, and that's what they did.
Well, they have 10 days before they face Fresno to enjoy the fruits of their labor as they sit atop the West on 34 points after defeating St. Louis FC 1-0 tonight. The Edward Jones final score not in favor of the home team. St. Louis, you mentioned they're going to Sacramento next weekend. A difficult road test to be sure. It is not easy to win in Northern California.
No, they're one of the better teams at home throughout. They're one of the better teams, period. But particularly when you look at their home results in front of that large crowd, and St. Louis is going to have to change that. Kyle Gregg will be a big part of that as well.
Sacramento in 3rd in the West. They are 4-1-2 at home this year, and that indeed will be a tough one for St. Louis, who have won just twice in 8 road games this year. And the next home game for St. Louis coming up in 2 weeks against Rio Grande Valley, a team that have struggled so far this season. Well, I'll just wrap it up for us from Toyota Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. The home side looked great at times, dominant even at others, but not enough to get them on the scoreboard and grab a result tonight. It's Real Monarchs who come in and win it 1-0. For my broadcast colleague Mike Pepper, my producer Ryan Rose, all of us here on our crew, my name is Evan Weston. Thank you so much for joining us. 1-0 to Real Monarchs, your Edward Jones final score. Good night from St. Louis.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.